So for our first inflammation exercise, we're going to be doing a partial weight shift. You can have your patient do this by either holding onto some parallel bars or taking their hands. Our patient's going to start on the uninvolved leg in a single leg stance, transferring their weight to the involved leg, putting as much weight down, taking a bilateral stance, and then coming back to the uninvolved leg. You can lift that leg up. There we go. One more time. We'll do a bilateral stance, as much weight as you can, and back. Good. So our next exercise, we're going to be doing four-way hip movements with a foot in the dorsiflex position. So if you can lie down for me on your back. For this exercise, our patient's going to be dorsiflexing this right foot into a neutral position, maintaining this the whole time. She's then going to keep her leg locked out and flex the hip, keeping the leg straight the entire time, bringing that leg up and back down. And we can accomplish this in multiple directions. So Andrea, if you could turn on your left for me. Again, we want to maintain this ankle into a dorsiflex neutral position, bringing that leg up to abducted position and back down. You can go stomach down now. Now we're going to be doing hip flexion, again, keeping this foot dorsiflex nice and neutral. Come up and back down. And for the last one, she's going to turn facing towards me. For this one, we're going to have the uninvolved leg take this position right here to provide support. Now she's performing hip adduction, keeping this foot dorsiflex, nice and neutral, and bringing that leg up off the ground. Back down. For this exercise, our patient is going to be performing a calf raise with a single leg eccentric movement. They can place their hand on the wall to provide support, like that, and they're going to come up into a bilateral calf raised position. Switch into that involved leg, taking a single leg stance, and slowly lowering themselves back down, creating an eccentric contraction. Now for our next exercise, they're going to be switching to a glute bridge position. So our patient's going to be lying on their back with their feet their knees at about a 90-degree position. You're taking an elastic band, placing it around the forefoot, ensuring the patient keeps their toes off the ground. You can spread your feet a little bit. They're going to drive their heels into the ground, coming up into a glute bridge position. They can do this isometrically and hold it, or perform it for repetitions. The key thing is that the elastic band is around the forefoot, forcing inversion, and our patient's going to have to counteract that with an eversion movement. For this next exercise, we're going to be having our patient perform a plyometric split squat. We're going to be taking a partial lunge position. And what you're going to have them do is perform a plyometric jump, alternating the legs in the air and landing in the same position on the opposite leg. 6. You can set this for repetitions or time. Our next exercise, our patient's going to be coming over to a four-way single leg hop. They're going to stand on their involved leg and hop in a clockwise movement, going forward, laterally, back, laterally again. As they progress, you can change up the direction of movement. They can jump diagonally or in a counterclockwise movement. Being that this is a maturation phase, they can start to incorporate a lot more plyometric movements, as they should be well strengthened at this point. For our next activity of daily living, we're going to be working on going downstairs. We're going to progress this exercise by beginning with marble pickups. The patient is going to use their toes to pick up our marble representations by paper, placing them into a container or a shoe. Do that for several repetitions. From this position, we can progress towards a soleus calf raise. So if you can go ahead and stand up, so we're going to come around this way. We're going to have our patient support themselves by placing their hands on a shelf, bench, whatever. Go into a squatted position. Bringing our heels off the floor, keeping the balls of the feet on the ground to involve the soleus muscle for contraction. Once our client has progressed from that exercise, we're going to move towards a step down heel tap. We're going to start on a raised platform. Bring one foot off, slowly lower themselves down, tap the heel to the floor, come back to a standing position. Go ahead, do that, Andre. And that is our progression for walking down the stairs. For this sport-specific progression, we're going to incorporate 3 exercises that progress towards the cutting motion involved in soccer. Our first one's going to be a weight shift. We can have our client take our hands, and they're going to stand in more of an athletic stance. They're going to shift their weight from the left foot to the right foot, slowly progressing the weight onto the involved leg. As we progress from this exercise, we can go more towards a lateral lunge. So our client's going to start the standing position. They're going to step into a lateral movement, dropping the weight into that landing leg, come back to a standing position, and then they can alternate each side. And finally, in our sport-specific progression, we're going to take that lateral lunge and turn it into a lateral bound. We want our client to perform a plyometric movement, getting to their highest point as possible, landing on one leg, and hopping from one leg to one leg on each marker. Make sure they're hitting their highest point, trying to jump more vertically. And as they progress with that, we're going to turn them